Mark, well, thank you for joining us. It's great to have you on ThinkTech.
It's great to be here. It's an honor. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Well, we ran into you a few years ago when you were at the Academy for
Creative media.
Creative Media,
Yeah.
ACM, at the university, and now here you are again. Our paths have crossed again.
I know. We've both come a long way since then. I remember you were talking about, starting the studio up and
Well, so you have had experiences that I admire very greatly. In the interim, you got to the White House. I want to hear about that.
Sure. I had
How'd you get there? What'd you do there?
Well, I guess it goes back to the campaign. I had volunteered for the campaign a little bit. I did a film that played at the Democratic National Convention.
About what?
It was basically about, it was a Hawaii story. And I worked with Andy Weiner, who was the head of the campaign at that time. And now he's working with NOAA, doing great things over there. And we just did a little film with three quick stories within it. One about a small business owner and his son who was kind of struggling in the times, and one about an elderly person and her granddaughter who was having health-related problems, and one about a military person and his girlfriend, and they were having to separate to go to war. And at the end of each of those little segments, there was a message of hope, that hope coming from Barack Obama, now the president of the United States. So we did that, and
He must have liked it.
yeah. And Conrad Ng, my former academic advisor at the ACM,
well connected, yeah.
His brother-in-law, he saw it, and he helped get it to the Democratic National Convention. So I got to thank him.
That's great. That's great. Yeah. So how long were you there, and what did you do while you were there, aside from the making movies? Well, including making movies.
I was there for about 6 months in the White House New Media Video Department, and my specific responsibilities had to do with the video side of things. So I would help make videos that went on the whitehouse.gov website and the official YouTube channel for the White House. So I got to help make a lot of the videos behind there. So I would do everything, from how the gingerbread house was made at the White House to, filming the president in the Oval Office and his weekly addresses and that sort of thing.
Little news and features, and so you just keep on pumping them out on the website.
Exactly. And for the people that,
100, 200 million, 300 million people to see it.
Right, exactly. The whole world can see it, and that, I think for the people that engage with, new media, for the public that engage with new media at the White House, that they would know that that's the transparency that the president had promised. That everything that he's doing is being put out there on the Facebook and the Twitter and the videos that he's followed by cameras all the time, sort of thing. So that's the transparency.
So then you agree with me that video is the future.
Video is the future. Video is the future, and the future's now. And the future's in a lot of ways. Yeah, and you're doing that. You're doing great things too. Yeah.
I hope you liked our production quality when this is over.
Eh? Yeah, I'm sure I will. I've seen some of your videos. They're good. Okay. I like them. Very interesting topics. Yeah.
So you left the White House. Why? Was the video not good enough, or what?
No, it was in a set amount of time, and I actually stayed. Longer. I stayed a month longer than that set amount of time, and then I received an offer from Maya Sotoro Ng to come back here and help her with our public school.
Still helping the family, so to speak.
Yeah, still helping the family, so to speak.
Good.
And our public school is a great nonprofit she founded, which they're doing two things. They're documenting best practices from every state in the country, and then sharing those to schools in need, sort of thing. And I'll be doing that. I'll be traveling around the country in hopefully September-ish area and documenting these best practices, and then we're going to spread them to schools in need. And then we're also going to, the other big thing is engaging the public in public schools and schools in general. So
engaging meaning talking to them.
And talking to them, listening to them, getting their feedback.
You need somebody to carry your camera bag or what?
If you're up for it, definitely. Yeah. But I am excited about this. So that's I'm doing that, and I'm running the new media campaign for them as well.
Okay, what's a new media campaign? I need to know everything about that.
Basically, new media refers to everything that's online related. And that can be everything from cell phones to the website to more social media, which is Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, where anyone can create content on those avenues as well. So I'm helping with our public school right now. I'm helping with Organizing for America Hawaii. So ARM in Organizing America is Barack Obama's sort of non-political arm or campaign arm of what they're doing. They work in tandem with the Democratic National Convention a lot as well. So I'm helping with that. And
That's also video, and it's trying to get the word out on his agenda. Is that the idea?
exactly, yeah. Word out on his agenda and also help Democratic campaigns that are currently going on and that sort of thing. So I'm the new media lead in Hawaii for Organizing for America, Hawaii's arm. So I'm happy to be doing both of those things. Yeah.
Oh, this is fabulous. What a great success story. I mean, you were only a student when I met you. Look at you
I
now.
know, right? I was happy I was going to work with you. We would have made great things
Yeah, you
here,
might
though.
be
You
here
already
today.
did, though, right?
No, I think you did the right thing.
Oh, thank you.
So, we had a really interesting experience, and when we made our accidental rendezvous, it was a couple of weeks ago at the Tech Hui conference at the university last Saturday, 2 weeks ago, and you were on the social media panel, which I have to share with you privately was the best panel.
You think so?
It was fabulous.
It's fun, isn't it?
It
Everyone
really
loves
was.
social media, yeah.
Yeah, well, the thing is, there's a philosophy to it. There's a humanity. It's an evaluation of the human condition.
Right,
It's
right,
way
right.
beyond just technology, and it's how people react to the new world we're in. I find that totally fascinating. You guys didn't use any visual aids at all. No PowerPoint, not even movies, nothing. You just talked philosophy. So, in this short tape, let's revisit what that panel said. Can you remember?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a great panel with some other great people, including at Neens and at Rob, who sent the first tweet from Hawaii. And we talked about a lot of things, everything from new media philosophy to some more details like search engine optimization, which Rob is good at, and that sort of thing. The things that I was interested in is how it's being used for the purpose of service and doing good and giving back and that sort of thing. And I gave a couple examples. One was I remember the morning after the Haiti earthquake and the devastation that incurred. I met with at Kate at State, if you want to follow her at Twitter, who was my former White House buddy. Now she's working in the new media department at the State Department. And
Nice to have friends.
nice to have friends. Right. Well, she's a great person, and we talked about. She told me that she was helping to set up this collaboration between cell phone services, the Red Cross, and the State Department, which turned out to be the 90999 text message service that you could text that and give $10 right away.
Yeah, what a great idea that was.
The Red Cross. Yeah,
Is that your idea?
No, I can't take any credit for that. That was all her and
Okay.
the other big players in that. But it was a wonderful service, right? And it shows so much the power of new media to do good. That raised, I believe it was $7 million within 36 hours, and just skyrocketed from there. So it was an amazing example of the power of new media to do good and give back and that sort of thing. Some of the other examples were just the sort of day-to-day affairs at the White House, which I talked about, and documenting what the president's doing, creating the transparency within the administration and that sort of thing.
And it did succeed. It did create a persona of transparency.
Yeah, exactly.
And all in very short time.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of votes came on that.
Yeah, absolutely. That was one of the other things we talked about. It was how successful social media was with the Obama campaign. That got so many young people involved in terms of fans and followers from him, just purely statistically from him compared to Senator McCain. Senator Obama had a lot more. He won basically in that category, no matter what your
if you look at the
political
demographics,
agenda.
he got those votes.
Demographics.
Those people in that category voted for him.
Yeah, so
Pretty clear.
strategically, that was a very, very smart move of the Obama campaign to use those tools.
Well, I think it changed things, didn't it? I mean,
absolutely.
who would not do that now?
Yeah, absolutely.
If you can just stroke that part of the demographic and they come follow you and vote for you, everybody's gonna try.
Absolutely, and it's being used a lot more by politicians and people looking to do service in general to get their message out. And that's the beauty, is that anyone can create content now on the web. Anyone has the power to get messages out to the world and change the world, so to speak.
Yeah, well, but I want to ask you some questions about that,
Sure.
though. We'll get back to exactly what the panel said, but it strikes me that anybody can get out there and say the right thing and, show how he feels or she feels and connect with a lot of people, all in very short order. But so a bum could get out there too and lie to the people and be a demagogue and reach them the same way and put things in a cocked hat.
That's true.
So how do we protect ourselves from that?
That's a good question. I think one of the beauties is sort of naturally inherent within these communication mediums is that the bums and the liars are sort of weeded out by the community, and at least for a lot from what I've seen, the community can sort of rise up and give warning and tell the bum that he's not doing the right thing and he's a liar.
Well, I want to talk to you about that. So you're saying there's a mechanism in the whole social media experiment. I call it experiment because it's obviously going somewhere we don't know exactly.
Still new.
Where.
It's new media,
Still
right?
New,
yeah.
New media. So there's a mechanism in there, a social mechanism that identifies the liar, that can figure out when they're being, tossed the wrong information.
Right.
How does that work? In other words, how quick? What processes take place within the crowd to make them find out that this fellow is giving them a line?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. And some of it, the line is kind of hairy, and it depends on what your beliefs are. Like, I'm working for the Abercrombie campaign as the video captain in the social media department, and
give him my regards.
Sure. But then there's in the world of politics, it can sometimes be not all nice, and
really,
yeah,
you
right.
think?
Recently, I won't say what happened exactly, but recently some campaigns were started against him, and a lot of the Abercrombie supporters, rose up and stood up for him and that sort of thing. And so you can see that it's not having the same impact as it would if this were just traditional TV or there wasn't that extra means of communication.
So it's a control mechanism to keep the ship afloat, so
exactly.
to speak,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
right it in the right channel.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it's when people when they smell something funny in social networking, then they realize that the fellow's not telling the truth necessarily, or that whatever. They find the truth that way, and they identify who's not telling the truth, and then they act to proliferate that judgment so that the rest of the community realizes it, and everybody then goes to the other side of the ship, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it's I mean, really, to me, it's fascinating how this works, this viral thing. And if you say to me, well, yes, it has a mechanism where it can control itself, I say, isn't that wonderful? That is like, the confirmation of the perfectibility of mankind and womankind. That the group can actually figure it out, and that we don't get distracted and lose our way. Of course, we do without the social media. We do in politics. We do reading the paper and watching the TV. We sometimes, so maybe it requires a certain kind of critical thinking. And that the people in this community that you're talking about are capable, because they're in the community, they're capable or more capable of that kind of critical thinking. They know the bull when they hear it.
Absolutely.
Because they're sensitized to that because they're part of the social networking community. What do you think?
Absolutely, I do. And there's always going to be debates and disagreements, which I think is a really healthy thing. And you'll see the threads under a post or something with all sorts of back and forths and that sort of thing. And I think it's healthy because that's showing that there is the debate and both sides of the party are getting their messages out, sort of thing. And there's there's no filtering it at all or that sort of thing. So it's a really healthy thing. And then just another example from what we did at the White House, we would do a lot of, for example, live streams where we would have special guests. Like one of the first ones I did was on clean energy, and we would take questions from the public.
Oh, you were so active, wow.
Thank you. It was an honor to be there. And we would take questions from the public, And the stream of questions coming in was much more than we could handle to answer them back. But what was happening was the community was answering each other's questions. So they'd be like, oh, here's the answer to your question with a link and that sort of thing. So it was wonderful to see that take place, the sharing of and spreading of information from the community.
Yeah, that's the exciting thing about it. It's like, years ago they used to have these conference calls among the analysts on stocks. And the public would hear about it through CNBC, and they would say, conference call, maybe there's 3 or 4 people. No, it's not 3 or 4 people. It's hundreds of people. It's a lot of people, and they're all on the phone at the same time. Well, now, fast forward. Now you're talking about thousands of people on the phone, so to speak, with social media at the same time, all commenting and going this way and that way and shaping a kind of common public opinion. This we never had before, never had the ability, need the technology to do it. So you learned about this in a context where that it never happened before. You're right at the wave.
Yeah.
How did you do that? That's amazing.
I feel lucky that, I was in college when Facebook first came out, and there's this new thing, Facebook, and I was like, oh, what's this? But it was cool. You got to see what your high school friends were doing and that sort of thing.
Come a long way from there.
Right. So it's been a fun ride to see it really grow and get as powerful as it has been.
So what did you take away from this panel that we did 2 weeks ago? What was your impression walking out of the room?
I think that I got a lot of good vibes from it. I think that a lot of people are interested in it. Just looking out into the audience, there was all sorts of people from different walks of life in diverse ways and doing different things. And they all felt that social media in one way or another could help them, whether it was, personally getting their messages out or getting their businesses' messages out or just connecting with other people and that sort of thing. And I think all of us on the panel had agreed on a few sort of key points within social media, which was reassuring, and that was, and just to preface it, there's so much out there, anyone can create content. It's sort of like, how do you get the eyeballs to the right place sort of thing. But we all agreed that content was king. And then analytics is definitely a key factor. You got to have your analytics to see who's clicking on what link at the same time. And then to me, at least, relationships is queen, and building relationships, which I think is really important. Getting to meet other people online, whether they're a friend of a friend or just have the same interest or something that you would never get to meet in real life, sort of thing. So it's building those sorts of relationships and cultivating those is really powerful as well.
Yeah, that's a whole new phenomenon about relationships. In the past, 50 years ago, a relationship, you had to meet somebody. That was part of you.
Right.
It was physical, it was personal, it was face-to-face. Now you can have a long-term, maybe that's a relative term, but a long-term relationship with somebody, never meet them, never have the prospect of meeting them, never even think about meeting them.
Right. Yeah.
It's cerebral, completely cerebral.
Absolutely, yeah.
And you can actually enjoy that, on a cerebral level, and share ideas and share arguments, and you become the smart mob. There was a book by that name.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but that's a beautiful, beautiful thing, I think, and it's making the world sort of less big and scary and more friendly and manageable. Like I was one of the brief little assignments that I got at the White House was to sort of strategize on how we could get more video messages out to the people at Afghanistan so they could see what we're doing and that sort of thing. And so I connected on Facebook with people in Afghanistan, and I got to know them. I'm still Facebook friends with them now, and I'm getting to know a lot of them more and the organizations they're a part of and the beliefs that they have. So it's a wonderful, wonderful thing getting to know people that I would never get to know.
That was going to be my next question. That's really incredible to do that. Soft power in the ultimate.
Yeah.
Getting around all of the formalities and all of the difficulties and all of the arguments and just talking to people electronically. So maybe that's the way the world is going to go, that ultimately, we'll find some major global solution simply by talking to people electronically.
Absolutely, yeah. You got to talk and listen. It's a two-way communication.
Strategic weapon is what it is.
Right. Well, it is powerful. It's a powerful tool that anyone can do. It's democratizing the communication medium.
Yeah, well, you were one of the most interesting members of that panel for that reason, because you were talking about, the application of this technology to the real world where things are tough, and trying to change public opinion where it really counts. It's not just chit chat; it's much more than that. So, where's it going to go, Mark? Give us your vision. Because you've been involved at high levels. So, what is your vision about how this is going to sort of take over the universe?
Well, if I knew that, I'd be rich, and
You will be rich. Give it a little time.
That's a really good question. I think you're seeing more recently efforts to organize all that information that's out there. You're seeing that, for example, with Twitter hashtags, which filter and keyword your tweets, and with geotagging, which give a location-based reference to what you're talking about, the content that you're talking about. So I think that is going to grow more, efforts to organize all this information together. What I want to see more, and what I'm hoping, is that more people can share the good things that we're doing, and promote service, and that sort of thing. So that's what I'm hoping. And I'm hoping that it makes the world a little, like I was saying, a little bit less big and scary, and smaller and more connected, which it's already starting to do. And I hope that it does it a lot more, so that we can get to know people in other parts of the country. We can get to know people, or the world, I should say. We can get to know people in Afghanistan and Indonesia and Asia, and areas that we wouldn't know before. So it's becoming more of a global world rather than a local world.
Yeah, it sounds like part of this dream is that the world will actually come together, that people will understand each other. Familiarity is actually a good thing most times. And so if we all get familiar with different cultures and different ways of living, then maybe we won't be so inclined to get violent. Mm-hmm. And maybe this will happen in our lifetimes too, because things move so fast.
Absolutely.
So the question is, how is that going to affect somebody who has been raised from birth to really hate the U.S.? Can you get behind that kind of barrier and talk to large populations and make them understand that globalism is better than hatred?
I believe you can, and I've had some experiences interacting with the Afghanistan Facebook group, and people
so
on
actually
there.
You were involved as one of the players who was actually engaging.
Yeah, I just went out there and looked at what people were doing, and what they were talking about, and I put some feelers out there and that sort of thing, and I actually got a lot of good feedback
in English.
Some was in English, some was in Pashto. There's tools that are developing, like Google Translator, which can help translate these things, and it's not always 100%. But yeah, the ones that I dealt with were more could speak English. I felt for the most part, I got mixed reviews on a lot of things, but I still got messages of hope that everyone, at the fundamental level, we want peace and we want prosperity and that sort of thing. And if we can, connect with each other and make friends and find common grounds through tools like Facebook, which is what the founders of Facebook sort of envisioned, anyways, then that's a really powerful and good service tool that we can use.
Yeah, tremendous. Because it gets by the political posturing, it gets by all the formality, and somebody there can get to know a whole bunch of people in the U.S. and get a whole different impression about it, and vice versa. So man to man, or woman to woman. Mm-hmm. But what about the U.S. now? How is this going to change? How is what you're going to do going to change the U.S.? What do you see as the sort of the body of social networking 5-10 years from now? How is I'm not much of a social networker. How is it going to affect my life?
Right. That's a good question. And as the years go by, statistically, more and more people are engaging with these tools. The Facebook numbers are going up. I read an article that more people spend more time on Facebook than any other site, including Google. More traffic goes through Google, but more time is spent on Facebook. So you're seeing that people are wanting to connect with each other more. And sort of how that changes things is, for the long run, is yet to be seen. like I said before, I think that it's going to connect people more and help people organize so that one person can change the world, so to speak.
I think it's clear it's going to change politics.
Absolutely.
And maybe if you say it's going to change politics, it's going to change everything.
And
because one follows the other.
Yeah, and there's a lot of efforts out there in doing research of politics to make government more open and even more transparent than it already is, and have the people have more power and say in that sort of thing. There's plenty of websites out there, for example, that where people can, for example, make a petition and then get others, no matter where they are in the country or the world, to sign this online petition sort of thing. So you're seeing more efforts of individuals getting what they think is right out there. They're having more say in government and policy and service and that sort of thing. So it's wonderful. Yeah.
You know what? But something comes to mind. So you say government can affect the thinking of people, and that's good for government, good for people, that they should have this direct relation. In fact, I saw a piece in I think it was the International Herald Tribune a few months ago, for the proposition is why do we need the electoral system? I think Barack Obama actually supports this idea. Why do we need to have all these layers? We can actually vote all together now and have an accurate count of what everybody thinks in the country. Why do we have to go through all these levels? Now, maybe there's good reasons for it, but you can see that new options are open for us. Same thing seems like to me is you talk about causes and agendas. It doesn't have to be political. It could be I want to go out with ThinkTech. I want everybody to know what ThinkTech's agenda is. So I use social networking, and now I'm affecting the thinking of a lot of people. One step further, what about business? Why can't business do this? Why can't I have a global business organization that operates completely strapped together, electronically? Yes, we have to have people execute the plan, but in terms of trading information, in terms of making the plan, we can be social networkers. So I suggest to you that this is not limited to government. It's
Absolutely.
not limited to nonprofits. It's every organization where people are getting together, to do some common thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And that's, you hit the nail on the head. It's businesses are using it left and right. If you look at tools like Mashable, which is a great resource for social media out there, there's all these examples of how businesses are using new media and social media for their own benefits. They're getting more people connected, and lots of even small businesses are really, really benefiting. Like I read one about a handbag owner who's getting their handbags out there, and people are polling on what their favorite handbag is and that sort of thing. So it's engaging the people in a person's business, an organization's business.
So why don't you close by telling them, Mark, telling them all what they should be doing about social networking, what they should be doing about the new media. Give them the wake-up call.
Well, if you're not engaging in it, I would recommend to engage in it. Go out there and take some risks, make some new friends, and just remember that some of the key principles, that content is king, that building relationships is queen, and that analytics is key as well. So you want to go out there, have the two-way communication, get your word out, and then also listen to other people and help other people first. Sort of thing before you help yourself. So if we can do those things, we can all connect and make the world a little bit of a better place.
Wow, boy, you've had quite a few years. I mean, you've had some very good years since I saw you last.
Yes, it's been great. I'm glad to run into you. I saw your name. I read your name. Oh, Jay Fidell. I remember him. He's hosting this panel. So I was happy to see that.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you so
Great
much.
to have you.
Yeah,
Come back
to have
soon.
you. Please, yes.